Hello, I'm Andy Howell. Welcome to this video review of Routebuddy's new Scottish Highlands Coast to Coast map. In developing this map and the add-ons that work with it, Routebuddy has built on some unique in-house technology. And on this occasion I thought it would be more useful to you to produce a video review rather than simply try and write about the map and its functionality in an article. To understand how Routebuddy can help you plan a route, you really need to see the application in action. So let's get cracking. In front of us we have a standard Routebuddy screen, and this is displaying the coast to coast map. It's a 1 to 50,000 Ordnance Survey map, and as you see it covers the bulk of the Scottish Highlands, its glens and its mountain tops. The Scottish Highland Coast to Coast walk is one of the great backpacking experiences that's available to anyone trekking in the UK and seems to be increasingly popular. Writer and broadcaster Cameron McNeish has produced a DVD that features a walk that starts on the beaches of Aberdeen and finishes in the wild wilderness of the Knoydart. And I have a book at home, Great Treks of the World, in which writer Ronald Turnbull features a similar route. Of course, each year we have the RAB TGO Challenge, in which 300 participants plan their own routes coast to coast across Scotland, and in their case they walk from west to east. This map is an Ordnance Survey 1 to 50,000 map, and if we zoom in and have a little look at it, you can see the usual set of features that you would expect on a 1 to 50,000 map. There you go. I can zoom in a little bit and you can see all the clarity of the display there. Routebuddy render their maps at quite a high resolution, so you can zoom in and still get a very crisp display, which, if like me your eyesight is fading a little bit with advancing years, is very welcome. Let's just zoom out again. Now that map might be all that you need to walk across Scotland. Indeed, I've used 1 to 50,000 maps on a number of coast to coast routes. But sometimes when we're walking high, perhaps along Munro ridges, or even walking through very dense forestry plantations, we want a little bit more resolution. And this is where Routebuddy's unique technology comes in. Routebuddy have produced a number of add-ons that will blend seamlessly into your 1 to 50,000 base map, and no other software package at the moment can do this. So let's go and have a look and see how it works. So first of all, I'm going to show you two routes. The first route is a pretty standard TGO challenge route. Starts off in Glen Mazaran in the Monolea, walks across open country before descending into Aviemore and running east to the campsite at Coylin Bridge, which is part of the Cairngorms National Park. Now, Routebuddy have produced a Cairngorms map at 1 to 25,000 resolution, an Ordnance Survey 1 to 25,000 map, and we can see how that works now by simply switching the map on in our map section. There it is. And if I go back to the map now and just scroll over a bit, you can see we have two very distinctly different maps being projected on the same screen. In the left hand corner we have our base 1 to 50,000 map, and in the right we have the 1 to 25,000 map insert. If I zoom in a little bit, you can see the added detail here, and of course the benefit of the 1 to 25,000 map is that it shows you the line of dry stone walls and fences, other topographical details, which is really useful if you're trying to navigate across open ground in very poor visibility. Let's have a look at our second example here, which is a classic walk in Glen Affric in the Highlands, and it starts here at a wild campsite and walks across this Munro ridge here that sits above Glen Affric before descending to the old Beef Hostel, Glen Affric Youth Hostel, and then makes its way east along the shores of Glen Affric, and then climbs again to a wild camp spot here on the side of this little lochen. And again, I can insert a 1 to 25,000 map. So let's go to our maps again. On this occasion, there's a map for Lochmona Loch Mulladock, which includes this area. So if I switch that map on and then go back, you can see, particularly if I zoom in now, you can see the 1 to 25,000 map there. And if I move to the right, you can see that ridge walk and all the extra topographical detail that's displayed there, dry stone wall, boundary walls, and so on. And as we follow the map to the east, again, we move off the 1 to 25,000 map and then back onto the base map. Now, one of the nice things about this system is that you can still plan your route across a stitched map like that, and you can look at the route, its properties as well, despite the fact it runs across two maps. So if I just call up the map properties here, we've got all of the data that we'd usually want: total distance, total ascent, and so on. And then if we click this elevation button here, we can follow the line of our route here. We're on the 1 to 25,000 map now, and we shall switch here to the 1 to 50,000 base map. So there we have it. But we can go further than this as well. Some people like to use different maps, and particularly popular in Scotland amongst hill walkers are the Harvey range of maps and their 1 to 40,000 map range they have developed with the British Mountaineering Council. Now, these might not quite be the scale of the 1 to 25,000 Ordnance Survey maps, but they also present dry stone walls, fences, and they have a unique system of shading to illustrate altitude. And we can have a look at the Harvey maps now. So here is an area of the base map I've just selected. It's an area near Ben Nevis that features the West Highland Way. And let's switch on this Harvey map, which is, scroll down, it's this Ben Nevis and Glencoe map. And when I go back to that, you can now see the unique design of the Harvey map there. And again, it's stitching right into the 1 to 50,000 map. And we can see that here, if I magnify this little section, so that you can see how the two join together. You can follow the stitch, you can follow the contours absolutely as well. So you have a range of add-on options here that can be really, really useful to you. If we just go back to our base map, you can see here some of the add-ons featured. If we zoom in a little, there's our Harvey map there sitting on our base map. Now, the add-ons that Routebuddy have produced are of variant sizes. There is a small, discrete, if you like, add-on, for example, for Ben Alder and its surroundings, and there is a bigger add-on for the Cairngorms. Now, I mentioned earlier that the add-ons work to help you guide yourselves through perhaps forest plantations as well as simply walking across hills, and I have an example of that here. This is a leg of a walk towards Stonehaven on the east coast, and it passes through the Fetteresso forest. This is a commercially worked forest, a very beautiful area in many ways, but one in which you need to take a bit of care for navigation. The organisers of the Rabtigio Challenge always recommend that first-time walkers here buy a 1 to 25,000 map, because that's more regularly updated and more likely to have an up-to-date map of the forest tracks that are used by those working the plantation. Indeed, at the moment, these paths are being used by heavy machinery to install wind turbines. So we can switch on the Fetteresso insert here. It's a 1 to 25,000 Ordnance Survey map. And there we go, you have the added detail here, and if I zoom in just to the edge of this map, you can see the advantage of this walk is that it takes forest trails almost to the coast. There's not much road walking there at the end, and of course you have all the detail that you want there of walking through the forest. And even as I speak, even though this area has been developed with wind farm technology, if you approach from the north as this route does, you'll still experience a lot of the magic of this particular forest. So there you go, another different type of insert. So that's the Routebuddy Scottish coast to coast system. The way that it stitches these maps together is really helpful in planning your journeys, and as I said earlier, there's nothing quite like this available on any other platform. But we haven't quite finished yet, because not only can you look at maps stitched together like that, is we can print them out like that as well. So if I go back to my Glen Affric walk here, and here we have our, let's just zoom in a little, we have our 1 to 25,000 map and 1 to 25,000 map. We can print this map. A lot of walkers now will print out maps using their own colour printers and carry those sheets with them, rather than carrying a big map that has a lot of territory on it that they don't need. So let's just print this. And here we have the area of our map. Notice we have a scale here, and we can zoom in or zoom out. Zooming in again is really useful if your eyesight's beginning to get a bit tricky like mine. You can actually have your printouts printed at a greater scale, and we can simply print that map. Now I'm going to print it to a PDF so that you can see how this works. And we'll just call that Afric. I'll print it to my desktop. Here we go. It's 2 sheets of A4 at that resolution. There's a lot of detail here to print out, so it just takes a while to render, but here we are. And now if I just pick a blank screen and have a look at that map, I'm going to open it in Adobe Reader, which many of you will have used, and we can now see the PDF map of our printout. Now, as I said earlier, you can print out to a higher resolution, so you can have a bigger view than that. But there you see the 1 to 25,000 map. Routebuddy has laid on top of that a grid aligned to true north, and also something I find useful, Routebuddy also always have the vertical and horizontal coordinates on show as well. And if we go to the second page, there you can see on our printout the same stitch, and this would happen whether you're stitching together 2 Ordnance Survey maps or an Ordnance Survey and a Harvey map. You could print them out together. Indeed, if you needed to, you could print out a page that stitched together a Harvey map and Ordnance Survey 1 to 25 and 1 to 50,000 maps as well. So let's go back to Routebuddy. There you are, that's the Scottish Highlands coast to coast map. As I said earlier, the 1 to 50,000 map might be all that you need, but you can buy the add-ons from Routebuddy, and I think the advantage of buying the add-ons is that particularly if you walk this walk regularly, you might set on one route, which might involve buying just one insert, and then perhaps on a subsequent occasion you might look at a different route, and again you can pick out the inserts that are relevant to that. So over time you can build up a little library of base map and inserts to work with it. I should point out that Routebuddy and Routebuddy maps run on Windows machines and Mac machines. Once you bought a map from Routebuddy, that same map can be displayed on a Windows machine, an Apple Mac, or indeed an iPad or an iPhone. If you don't use computer mapping systems on your desktop, I think you'll find this makes complicated route planning a lot easier. And if you already have a mapping system installed on your mobile phone, indeed if you have a mapping system installed on an Android device, which at the moment isn't supported by Routebuddy, you can of course also export these routes and then import them into your smartphone system. So there you go, that's the Routebuddy coast to coast map. The base map is available for about just under £20, and the add-ons vary in price depending on the amount of terrain that they cover. So that's the Routebuddy Scottish Highlands coast to coast map, something that I think will be very useful for anybody wanting to plan a Scottish coast to coast walk. Finally, I would like to thank Routebuddy for providing me with the inserts for this demonstration. I have many maps from Scotland that I've purchased from Routebuddy already, but these wouldn't allow me to show those inserts or the actual inserts that you can buy from them. So thanks very much for that. So that concludes our video review. I'll meet you next time, probably back on my blog.